There's also another part of this paper which talks about the 0 point energy field loses its drag when the temperature nears 0 K, according to Fronig's research, and he talks about the challenge where it is possible to extract usable energy from a single heat source, not from a temperature difference, which challenges the first law of thermodynamics. So we are talking about a challenge to the laws as they are.
No. They use your ignorance to manipulate you. They can't manipulate scientists like us. Understand?
Okay, I'm quoting.
Let me explain. Yeah. You see, they say when you get to the 0 point, you lose your kinetic energy because the electron does not move in respect to proton. That's correct. Understand the terminology used as a scientific, but you don't understand and people jump in it. Because of the reduction in the motion, because you have to understand when you get to minus 270 degrees, your magnetic fields move into the universal level and not into the matter level. And in the matter level, they do not exist anymore because everything is get tapped into the universal level. You're beyond the limit. This is a speed limit. So what they say, it comes to 0, yes, they're correct. But understanding which part are correct. Because we consider energy as a movement. When the electron does not move in respect to proton, the kinetic energy comes to 0. It's correct. But it does not mean the field flow. If you can tap into the field flow, it's still there. Nothing has changed. So when they speak, they see a 0. Yeah, there is no motion in respect to electron and a proton. This is correct. Only kinetic energy, not the potential energy. If they tap into the potential energy, they find it's huge.
Okay, so are you saying that the first law of thermodynamics is still correct?
No.
Or are you
first law of thermodynamics is refused by many scientists who understand the true physics. One is quantum.
Then this paper is correct in saying that is a challenge. It is a challenge to the law of thermodynamics. Yes.
Yes, correct. Because a lot of scientists, I'm not the only one. I never agreed with the first law, second law of the thermodynamic. Because if you understand what heat is, then you understand the first thing you understand about true heat. What heat means? Heat is the interaction of the field's residual energy. When you rub your hand, it creates heat. If you understand that simple thing, immediately you understand the first and second law of thermodynamics is in the bin. You don't need to be a genius. So then it becomes to the quantum laws of quantum which has been created, and then on top of it another false paper which is supported by a lot is a string of fields, which is all made by the people who never understood the science, but they wrote something and they found support because it would have given the people who gave the support some evidence. First law of thermodynamics does not, it's the most rubbish law which is ever written. First of all, you got to look at the assumptions made in the first and second law of thermodynamics. Look at the assumptions made in the quantum. They are all assumptions. They made so much assumption that only proves their point of view. And reality does not make assumptions. It takes consideration all the interactions. So this it's finished. I'm not the only one. You read the eminent scientists who understood this. We had to go through this law of thermodynamics when we start manufacturing the true nuclear reactors. We show to the thermophysicists which interact and work within the structure of the nuclear reactors, especially in what we call the fast flow gases, which is a British system. We show to the scientists from nuclear point of view is rubbish. And then we start restructuring, developing new physics in nuclear. By rejecting the first and second law of thermodynamics, the gas power nuclear reactors of the Britain was shut down because they were made on the wrong assumption. And that's why we had a lot of problem, because thermophysicists, thermodynamic physicists took over the nuclear. And when the nuclear engineers could show, that's why the gas-cooled reactors in England are getting shut down. And they are not reproduced because it was made on a false assumption of thermodynamic.
Very interesting.
Okay, I know because
have,
I used to be part of this
yes.
development in 1980s.
Okay, yes, that's true and very interesting. I have another question which has to do with ambient energy and a statement that has to do with Tesla and a patent. It's again on my website on this article, a separate part, a different part, another article in which they're talking about Tesla had said that the mechanism of using ambient energy was common knowledge and well known in 1901. Does anyone have a reaction to that?
Well, I mean, to me, it's a good segue into some of the concepts that Kesh was sharing about thermodynamics and what the people are missing who try to apply it so rigidly is that we're looking at essentially algorithms, sine waves, bandwidths, is another way to kind of put it. And so then the patent here, when they're talking about that being a known concept, I mean, I think in a lot of ways they might even be talking about potato batteries at that point in time. It makes a lot of sense in terms of if there was already experimentation into electricity that would generate these patents at this time, that means someone had been working on it already at least a decade or two before that to get somewhere. And in a lot of ways, these patents also show everyone that the proof of concept question that I've noticed that came up too is that a lot of these things, if you put the evolution of these different technologies together, you get the Kesh generators, or you get R generators, things like that. So the proof of concept is in the history, and so things like this patent are examples of the latent potential energy in our environment. And I loved how, Kesh, how you shared how that nothing escapes out of magnetic fields. So yes, there's always some kind of movement available on some bandwidth. And so I think the more that we discuss this and the more it becomes common, the more we are able to progress the overall discussion.
The thing is, if we talk about these patterns, I don't know if you know it or not. In Iran, there was a bath, as common, common bath, where people used to go, like a Turkish bath. For decades and centuries, this bath was run by one candle, and people used to go, it was a boiling water, but run with one candle. When British came to Iran, they brought their scientists to see how this thing works, and they blew the candle out to see if they can open it, restart it, and never started again. The bath went, finished. Scientists in the past tapped into the universal energy, but they had to hide it in a different way because people couldn't understand it. So the knowledge was much more advanced than what we think. So what was the secret behind this candle? It's not, Iran is not the only place. We have a lot of scientists in Africa. If you've been to Africa, they tap in all sorts of ways to energy for the healing, but they hide it because then if they show it, they're going to lose their power. But the patent does not, never existed. It's a European way of controlling mind. But people understood these patterns of energy, how they can be collected and used for centuries. And different scientists find different elaboration on it, but human beings are very clever people. They are very clever beings.
Is this, was in the Turkish bath or the Iranian bath, are you saying that what happened is the candle built up reserves of energy and that's why it continued
We don't know. We haven't unraveled the riddle. It's not known what happened. We would love to know. As in, some of us assume was a nuclear, some assume, because it's not there for us to assess. The British engineers destroyed it.
Right.
It was there for centuries. It was famous that the whole bath runs on one candle. Did he tap into the geophysics energy? Geo layers? We do not know. Was the candle a way of bringing geo-energy up? And he hid it as a candle because people could relate to a candle. We don't know how it's done. It's not the only place. There are a few of these around the world that the scientists have understood. They've never been in contact in different centuries. But the energy has been, we know there are fields, there are places in the world where you can enter the zone and you get different effects. Be it with the sight, be it with the cancer. These are all kind of energies which are the parallel energy to you. What we call now with the new understanding of the plasma, that now we have the ability to make magnet for anything. The gases are magnet for something else, and the other things are for something else. So now, if you understand this, if you can make a magnet of, let's say, a cancer cell, then the two interact, and one gives and one takes. And if you can create an environment which is the one you built, that it can give fields to the others, you empty the energy from the cancer cell inside the body of the man. This is how the process works with what we are doing, and we see immediate effect. So we understand that the new understanding, which was before we only thought magnet is the only thing which attracts. Now we can make magnet for anything. This is the new plasma technology. That's why we promote it, and that's why we do things. They look strange and people oppose it because they don't understand what we done. So scientists understand this. You can make magnet for anything. You have to find out how to do it, how to create the condition of that magnet. Then you move energies with it according to that strength. So we have to understand what the scientists did in the past. Why they can. Now we understand how you can remove pain by putting the hand on somebody, because now we made the pen a copy of the hand of the man. The hand of the man gives energy and takes energy. We just looked at this a touch. No, because the body has got gravitational magnetic of the patient, and the man who touches it has the same. Because they are made near enough the same, and if they tune, the man is prepared to give, and the body of the patient is prepared to receive, and what it doesn't need to give, and then we call it healing, hand healing. Now we understand the process. Now we can replicate the process. So the mystery of the physics, which was made on the wrong basis, is getting put right by the scientists who understand the whole. And we are one of them. And there are millions of scientists who work in this way. That's why in China they found a lot of resonance with the Keshe Foundation, because they work in that field. And they're adding their knowledge to our knowledge and adding part of what we can add to theirs, and is opening a huge Pandora in China. Because Keshe Foundation, gravitational magnetic field balance, works with yin and yang. They understand it in their way. They add a little bit of our knowledge to their knowledge, and it just puts another jigsaw in the picture. Gets complete a little bit more. It's not fully complete. We haven't discovered the totality yet. It'll take millions of years. Now we start a new science of understanding. So all our sciences are correct. How? But now the biggest problem, the challenge for scientists like us is to see how ignorant we are to compare to 200-300 years ago scientists who understood it so earlier. And we still don't understand what they understood because they showed it for 200 years. We are far behind.
Okay. At this time, I would like to go through a couple more questions that come from the chat. And it looks like someone wants to know, when can we purchase it and how much?
What? I'm not for sale.
Yes, the person needs to put what specifically they're talking about, but one would assume you have a products page on your website, don't you, Keshe?
Yes, we have the Magraph for the cars, Magraph for the house. We are changing part of it. We are moving the factory in the coming week. And we have Magraph for pain and the pads. And in the next 2 months, we add maybe another 5 to 10 new items into the product list. There is a discussion.
So can you give out your website, please?
It's www.keshefoundation.org. That's K for Kilo, E for Edward, S for Sugar, H for Henry, E for Edward, foundation.org. or you can go to our other website, which is spaceshipinstitute.org. You should be able to come into the Keshe Foundation, or you can go to our teaching section, which is kfssi.org. And then very soon, next few days, you will find 1p1n1r.org, which has become our, what I call the flagship for unification.
Okay, let's see. Someone wants to know is, what about a beta production unit with DIY plans? Do-it-yourself plans, I guess it is what he... it sounds like this person hasn't been following your work, so I'm not sure. We don't want to answer questions that have already been answered a long time ago.
A lot of people are asking for DIY units that they want to put it together themselves.
Okay.
We are looking into this in next week or two as part of the products we'll submit, because a lot of people can make the coil, but they can't make the housing. They are looking for the boxes. People who are looking for the coils. We have just unraveled yesterday or 2 days ago in our teachings a system which you can feed yourself. We finished with the energy, the maggrav unit. Now a combination of maggrav units, if you use it the right way, we are testing that you can feed yourself. You don't need to buy food. This is part of the space technology, not something we are doing as a fancy, because in the space we can't take food. So this is the new development as part of the structure that you manage to tap into the energy to reduce your bill. Now we're using the same energy, because now we can make the magnets of different things even with your emotion, that you can feed yourself. These products we'll announce in the next few days. You can build a number of these units together, and in the house you put it in one corner and you don't need to buy food. You tap into, or you ask through your request of your emotion, magnetic field of your inner body, which is your emotion, which now we understand emotion itself is magnetic gravitational base. The same, you make the magnet to your system, and in gravitation you receive and you give. And we start doing this publicly to show it. It started with one man, and then he brought 5 of his friends and family in. We tested a few days ago. It's very effective. And then we put it in public on the Tuesday teaching. People could see it. And one of the classes this knowledge seeker is part of is about 36 or 37 of them. Yesterday we started the process that all the 36 now tune or connect to this unit to feed themselves. They can taste the food. We've shown this how it's done before. We put the orange on top of a cup, and the energy, we put CO2 GANs, we put the amino acid GANs, we put the CH3 GANs on the side of the cup, and people could drink the water of the cup and taste the orange. Now I've taken it to explain. Now people have done it for a few weeks and months. They understand it works. Now I explain to them, you are the cup, because you carry the amino acids in your body, you carry the water in your body, you carry the CH3. Why do you need the cup? You can tune directly to the orange, but now the orange is the star formation triple, which you receive what you want. And people can taste orange, people can taste chocolate. They're eating their food and the drink, and we even got people drunk on one of the tests. So we understand the further progress that we don't need to carry the food in space. And this is part of Keshe. We are a space technology, as we call the Spaceship Institute. So now we're developing a technology where if you want, you can eat, but if you don't have the money to eat, we can put these systems all over the place, and people just by thinking. At the moment you want to go to have a steak, it costs you $100 in a very expensive restaurant. Now you can have the same steak for less than no penny. This is the next development which we are teaching, and today we followed up in our teachings on knowledge seekers.
Okay, Keshe, we have several people asking the same question. Maybe I misunderstand it, but I think you've already demonstrated this to some degree. But someone is asking about a proof of concept. Is there somewhere people can go to look at this?
What proof of concept for what? These
I
are
suppose for your inventions, I suppose.
You can buy our system and test it at home. The proof of concept the gentleman just showed you. You see, these people are people who want everything to be done, and as long as I say, show, prove me, we don't need to prove. We told you, go on the website, go to the blueprint, copy it. Everybody's doing. The guy said he's made 12 of them, and he sees his bill reduced from 2,000 something to 800 something. That's a proof of concept. You believe the others. Secondly, we don't have time. We have given you. It's you who have to understand to be able to prove it to yourself. And that's all it is. It's past the time. We have no proof. We don't need to prove. We're going into mass production. That's the proof. Go in the site and purchase someone, and then see the difference.
Okay, someone
this is Robert. I just wanted to say there's proof of concept. I'm sorry.
Yes.
There's proof of concept all over the internet. Look at the Coke bottles. Look at the batteries. It's all over. I don't understand. Everybody keeps asking that.
But can I say something, Carrie?
Sure.
The most beautiful thing no scientists have done up to now is putting its design and spending 7 days.
Cash, I think we lost you there.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Could you start again?
Yeah. I said the people who ask for proof of concept, we spend 7 days, nearly 6-7 hours a day, to teach you how to make the system. This is our pattern open to everybody, and we taught it. No one has ever done this. Teaching is technology so freely for people to do, and people like Robert and the others who built it, they connected it. Now they see 50% reduction in their electricity bill, whatever that is, in money in the pocket a month. So it's you who have to go on the Keshe Foundation website, go on a blueprint, see how it is made, build one for yourself, or if you don't have the knowledge to do it, go to the Keshe Foundation website, go to the shop, buy a unit, get it delivered, and then plug it in and wait according to the process in 2-3 months and see how your electricity bill drops. The proof of concept is your ignorance in accepting new. We don't need to prove we already set up factories.
Yes, you know, there is a strange side to this which also involves, you know, orgone, what I call also Kundalini energy, which is actually your own body is proof of concept of what we're talking about. And it's everywhere in the universe, but people don't realize it. So there is a person who has a question about something that sort of a well-known person out there who does actually reports on weather in the alternative sector called Dutch Sense. He apparently did a video that has power printed on paper, and he gets voltage from paper-thin, non-moving DC generator. Has anybody on the panel seen this video, and are you aware of how this might be working or have any thoughts about it? I can certainly say that the Hebrew alphabet has been analyzed by Stan Tenen, who is quite well known, and you can look up his name if you like. And I can imagine that, yes, the idea is you can draw symbols and actually use them to build a machine. But go ahead.
Carrie, if I might come in.
Okay.
Regarding
go ahead.
Regarding the symbols, I do very much agree with you, because also there is a guy from Canada. He is heading the spaceship section, and he it was very funny because he came up with the periodic table. He came up with sacred geometry, and he applies it in the construction of the reactor. And also there is very nice grandma. She has done a reactor with the shape of how do you call it? Let's say a Merkaba. And so it is very much, you can very much apply it also for the building of these systems. I'm sure of that.
Yes, actually, Jerry, aren't you're dealing with this concept, aren't you, with your holograms?
Yeah, we employ a type of holographic technology, yes, and in that sense, too, in relation to symbols, our late esteemed colleague Jeff Harvey and I analyzed the work of a gentleman who was able to notch electrical conduit lines in and out of the breaker box and see a marked efficacy increase overall. And so these concepts, what we figured out ultimately, what we kind of termed as structural links, which are types of unified formations of some kind that act as a type of conduit. And so to me, it doesn't surprise me when I hear the generator that Nadine was talking about be in the shape of a Merkaba, because if we look at these toroidal vortex kind of similarities to everyone's technology, if you think of it more of like a three-dimensional circuit board, it makes sense. So everyone thinks of circuits just as flat, but ultimately when you have a charge, it's creating an EM field that's going to be a geometry. And so if we take that into consideration of our designs overall, I'm sure we're going to see a huge bit of efficacy increase, and especially as it relates to cohering on a quantum scale with some of these types of symbols, because ultimately that's what sine waves kind of boil down to if we're taking a cross section of them. What is a sine wave other than a relative up peak and trough? And we can turn that on its side, looks like an A or a W or M or whatever we want to do, but it's all relative once we're saying. But at the same time, as I'm sure the Kesh Foundation has found out too, to be able to do what they have with the food concept. And I'm just want to say real quick that it sounds far out there, audience, but it is very true what he's talking about. It is almost a magnetic attraction effect, and we see this too with our technology. We use primarily right now fuel and combustion engines, but we do have early stage health products as well, where we've seen some tremendous results with this, utilizing these same types of interactions of different fields, which can be represented as some kind of symbol. So once again, we just return back to that concept.
Okay, thank you, Jerry.
That's right. And Dan Winters also has a product called Therify. I mean, it's pretty widespread, the thought that, like you were talking about Kundalini, and that's kind of where I come from, is the Chinese medicine in back into my past. But I think it's important to mention that sooner or later we won't need all of the technology to get us to the point where we can feed ourselves. It will be something that we can do internally, and I think Mr. Kesh could speak on that and how that's the direction maybe he's taking us.
The point is, we have already explained this in the teachings yesterday, that if you understand why the brain of the man has got two hemispheres, and you can adjust the control between one to the other, you can create the same magnetic field condition of any element in the universe to absorb from the environment to eat. But at this moment, we have to educate slowly, but people in the background in the Kesh Foundation private teachings are already explained and understand. We are in that direction. We have to teach step by step, otherwise we become magicians. But in reality, in a space, now we have shown it now last Tuesday, first time in the public, people are still need a point of reference of these maglev systems that they get energy. But in reality, when they think of, because they have a blueprint of what they think about food, they already tap into any restaurant you like, which is in the universe. But we are still partial semi-belief condition, so we put this maglev system as a point of reference, as a food system. But as you said, our body in our brain, due to its structure of two halves, you need two different field strengths to create the flow. And if you can do that, and you can absorb the energy between the two, you feed yourself in the universe. You don't need the digestion system. This is what we are teaching now. And as part of the teaching today, we started on Tuesday. I explained that when we start absorbing energy that is not matter-based, like the food we eat, and the air we breathe, then we lose our digestion system and our breathing system. And so we work on the gravitational magnetic field strength in a very coming soon. We estimate within the next 12 months to 18 months, a number of people will reach this point. It's part of our normal evolution now that we learn how to tap into the universal energy. And then in this way we feed ourselves as we need. But at this moment we have to put a taste and a smell to it that people are happy they are receiving something. But in the next step, when you are in a space, your child has never had a cholo kebab or never had a steak, they don't know what is smell or taste, but they learn the fields they need, they absorb through their thoughts, and they give. And this is part of, we are taking humanity in that direction. We've shown the first unit, working unit, and thousands of people have seen it on the internet in the past few weeks. If you go on the Keshe Foundation Thought Group, International Thought Group, the system is shown, the gentleman who's using it, the people who used it, and now we have closely about 50 people roughly. That's 37 people from the Keshe Foundation Knowledge Seeker Group. The ones that are in the background, we don't know how many more students will watch in the part-time side. And then we have 10 members of the Space Research Institute and the innovation side of the Keshe Foundation. And then we have 5 people who are actually close to the system, physically being in touch or around it. So it's a group of about 50 close. We are watching how they feel. And they start writing a data sheet from yesterday. What they ate, what they wanted, if they received it, or they asked for it, but they didn't get a feel of receiving the energy. They wanted a champagne, but they think they never got it. Or they wanted to have a piece of fish and chip, but they thought they never got it. We don't know if they have or not. But the only way we see is by experiments, where when you go to a toilet, if it reduces, or your urinating changes, which reduces. So it means you rely less and less on the matter state, and that's the only indication we see, and the emotion, how you feel about it, if you still have energy. So we look at the end for the time being, and in that process, a number of people, they say, oh yes, I can feel it, I am receiving the chocolates, but we see in what they report, what they have given out. If you're literally diminish in waste, it means you have tapped into universal energy. And we are putting that, a number of people report that they go less and less to toilet in the past week, they urinate less because it means they receive the satisfaction, the energy is there, and that energy does not create any waste. So that's the indication of it. We are very advanced in that level. And then the next step is to withdraw the systems and let people do it through their need and emotion, what they need. And we'll see the changes. We'll see new, as I said in my teachings, for the first time, we decide the evolution, not the environment. By deciding to tap into the universal energy, which means we don't eat, we don't destroy another animal, our emotion becomes in peace with our physicality, and they become more or less one. And in that process, there is no need for digestion system which we carry to digest other animals, other creatures. Plants are creatures, fruits are creatures. What they call a lamb or whatever is a creatures which we gave a right to do it on the physical side. We ignored the essence of the emotion. Now the emotion could hear the animal, it could hear the vegetation which to you was nothing, is something you're right to eat. Now, by not consuming food in a physical level, in a matter state, then our physicality and emotion becomes to one, near enough to each other, and then we find peace. Because we don't need, we have whatever we need. And when you get in that level, then you can become man of space. You can live anywhere, because now you don't rely on food from planet Earth, because your lung will change. We will see. We have started this time, as I said in my teaching. We decide the course of the evolution from last week. How we're going to change? We're going to get rid of the digestion by not eating another animal, but we learn how to tap into universal energy. And the only indication is not, oh yes, I feel it's a guru. It doesn't become a religion. This is a path into a space. So we see if people go to toilet, if people urinate, and if that reduces, means they're not taking any physical matter. And then when you go to that process, the body automatically goes through its evolution. Do I need the digestion system? No more. Do I need to have teeth to spend so much? And with this process, we see 90% of the cancers will disappear, because 90% of the cancers are in the digestion system, in the belly size. Liver cancer, kidney, intestine cancer, pancreas cancer. These all go because we have no need for them. The body just shuts down. Then it gets itself through evolution over time, next 20, 50, 100 years, looks after this. It's like your, what do you call it? Your tensils, your other organs which we don't see any use for, and then gradually we'll get rid of it, digest it, and then we start living a life without eating another package. We only take what we need when we need. And people who go through this process in past week, they tell us they have no energy because they don't. But once they want energy, they can reach it. They can do it. So it means they can tap straight away in universal energy. We are in that. We moved into true space technology now. It's live. Today you can go back again on the teaching at Keshe Foundation. Knowledge Seeker is live, and follow it. And we're going to follow this because now we come through a space technology. NASA has helped us to understand more about the space, but propulsion is finished. Now we propel ourselves according to the environment we want to be. Construction of the huge structures for space is over, because now we can create according to the structure of our understanding crafts the same as our skin. Our skin, the people who follow my work understand, in the health side of it, is created from interaction of 3 layers of the GANs, or plasma physics, or plasma materials. The interaction of the 3 gives the illusion of our skin. Now we understand this, we can create crafts at any size because we can extract the skin the way we like to the field interaction. So now we enter the true space technology. In the next few weeks and months, we'll see this coming so rapidly. Our biggest problem to break into this, or not to break, to get public to see it, was to get rid of Alan Sterling, which he and his supporters created false information. He's gone. The Red Circle is very soon going to be arrested for attempted murder and pedophilia. We know that because we filed it, because he made an attempt against my child. We're filing for him. He's committed that, he's done. So he has already committed himself to act of pedophilia. Now the platform is clean for all of us to start learning from each other the true science. And we need reference pointer platforms. And that's why we said, people who stay correct, we support. And that's what I said in my teachings on Tuesday. We support Kerry Cassidy from now on, in every shape or form, as long as you stay correct. That the knowledge is like this, open panel, scientists can come and share. We support you. We financially support you openly, that you don't say you're supported by us, because open platform discussion is needed. This is how we learn. I can put everything to my forum and to my teaching, then it becomes one-sided. People from other sides, like Tesla manufacturing, like other space agencies, we need the open, impartial platform.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. But we got rid of the worm, and now we see a second worm, which is coming up by the same people. If you go on the website of this false hope, is connected to the others. So we got to get rid of these people publicly, the way we done with Alan Sterling, and now the true science can come up.
Okay, now there's another Keshe, at this time I'd like to move on to another question. We are running out of time here for the panel, so we want to get as many audience questions in as possible, if you don't mind. Here we have a person who is asking if you can design a device that would be able to detect when your system is being used. Do you understand the question? It's a little confusing.
Yes, they want to know when your system is operation. Yes, we have a system which is, we showed it, is developed by, initially it's a very basic unit by a Japanese engineer or Japanese electrical man, and now it's in our innovation center getting tested. He's submitted all the blueprints where we can see or measure magnetic gravitational field from one system to another. And then you can see if your system receiving more or giving more, and then you can measure it if it's working, if are you receiving or you're giving it, because it has to receive to give. It's not one-way direction. So the tools are getting made. It's a new technology. In the next few months and years, we'll see a lot of new measurement tools.
Okay. Somebody says nano coating is cumbersome. Is there some way to get this done in bulk or automated? This is one of the questions.
Yeah, the thing is, you can spend €7,500, buy a system which does all of it for you, and make the spring and nano coat it for you. You just pick it up and put it in gas. And if boiling water is cumbersome, I don't know what's the easiest way to do it. All you need to do, open a box, put some caustic in, put your material, and just put some boiling water, more or less your effort. All the effort you need to do is just to boil some water. Then I don't know how easy it can be.
Well,
okay, so you're saying
on nanotechnology, and Mr. Kesh has taught us how to do it for pennies on the dollar, really, literally.
Can you explain that a little further, Robert?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, there are companies spending millions of dollars to nanocoat, and they've got some amazing ways of doing it. If you look at the internet, different websites, there's one pot now ways of making nanocoating, which is what Mr. Kesh basically teaches us. We don't have to spend tons of money or tons of time or take it to a professional lab to get a working nanocoating on these. So this is probably the most simple and the cheapest way of doing it, literally.
Okay. Someone wants to know anti-gravity, how to make an anti-gravity device. He's talking about Ralph Ring and Otis Carr. I don't know if you're familiar with one of the either of those men, Kesh.
Yes, but we don't understand what anti-gravity is, so they have to explain it. We create positioning where you find magnetic and gravitational field interaction between two systems, and when they are comfortable in respect to each other, you find a position. It's like two magnets. You put two magnets next to each other where they find they're comfortable, they find their position, they find their distance. This is called maggraph positioning. This is the magnetical and gravitational repulsion and attraction between two entities, which is a plasma, which is like a sun and the earth. Earth creates, I always teach in a simple way, Earth has what you call the exit pole. The North Pole releases fields, and those fields interact with the sun, and they enter the sun from its entry, which is what we call the south field, South Pole. And then what comes out from the North Pole of the sun goes into the South Pole of the Earth, part of it. And where these four field forces, two attraction and repulsion, from each one find balance, is where the position is made between the distance between the sun and the Earth. Now these two internal field forces for both entities fixed. You can't change it. You can't go inside the Earth and change its gravitational magnet. But within systems we developed, we have the power to control the field. So our position now is in respect to the Earth. So we can change our gravitational magnetic field in our system, so we find a position in respect to Earth. And we have shown this can be done, and is done. The lift and the flight system is already complete. So all it is, you find positioning. Anti-gravity again comes from those people who never understood the true science. Earth creates both gravity and magnetical. Magnetical creates the atmosphere. Gravity is what is hold on to what is created. It's a magnet. We never understood what gravity is. Gravity is a creation of two different fields in the plasma condition in the center of the planet, which their interaction, some of the plasmas are in similar polarity, they repel each other, they create the atmosphere, and some of the atoms and molecules are in line with each other of attraction. They come together, so they create the gravity and they create a field, gravitational field of the Earth. So now we understand this, we can replicate it in the system, and now Earth in respect to Sun becomes Earth in respect to our system. We find our position. So we call it maggraph positioning, gravitational, magnetical attraction, repulsion of the two entities in respect to each other finds the position. So anybody who speaks about anti-gravity, I don't know, I haven't seen such a machine yet. which only can work anti, because there is no such a word. The anti is the only people who and they never understood the whole concept of the universal motion. Now we understand, we can replicate it. And we see we have achieved lift.
Very good. All right. So at the moment, I'm not getting any new questions from the chat. Are there any more questions? I'm going to ask my producer to take another look through to see if there's anything that we might have overlooked. And in the meanwhile, if there's any panel member that would like to say some closing remarks, we can go around the group and give you each a chance. Okay? Someone, I guess, is now asking about medical devices. Kesh has already mentioned in this interview, again, just as he did in the past, that, you know, and this is also on the Veterans Today article that's on my website, where you'll see the advertisement for this event. If you go there, you'll see a link to the Veterans Today, where Gordon Duff talks about the medical devices and has his experience with them. Is this person asking where to buy them, or what is the actual question?
Go to the Keshe Foundation website, sales, and they're there. The pen and the pad are there. And in the next few months, more equipments will be put into the, to the website. The beauty with this is that, as, for example, the German Keshe Foundation manufacturing comes in, they produce their product, but you still get a link to the Keshe Foundation. You can choose now from different factories which produce different things of the Keshe Foundation, or the same thing. You might like the color or the shape of the other one. It goes with your furniture, but inside the working is the same. And so you have an option. You just go, our, e-commerce should be up in next coming weeks. It's been supposed to come back in the past few weeks, but it's getting updated every day. So you can go to the Keshe Foundation, go to the document. You can go actually to the bottom of the first page, or go to the shop and buy any equipment you like the pen or the pad or the power units or the car units. The car units are showing a lot of positive results, more than what we thought. We can explain it now. Some people are reporting to us up to 50% reduction in their fuel consumption, but it's not that is we are putting the fuel. In the case of the car, is that the body of the car, the whole structure is going into the phase of nano coating, and it finds positioning in respect to the car, to the earth. This is part of the flying is on the matter state, it's in the inertia base. So when you reduce the weight, you lose less, you use less fuel. In this case of the car, it's not an energy producing as such, is again is a maglev system, which means creates magnetic gravitational positioning. People are reporting easier to drive. The system is much better because there is less pressure. In a way, if you weighed 400 kilo, now you weigh 350 kilo, so it's easier to steer. The body seems to be working, everything's getting nano-coated, and partially part of the energy allows the plasma of the fuel to be operating, seems to be in a plasma conditions, like when you put the food in your mouth, is a matter state. The minute it enters your indigestion system, it becomes in the plasma state because now it's in the field of the plasmas of your body. It seems that by nano-coating, using the fuel, our cylinders gets nano-coated, the fuel getting injected into the system do not release all their energy. They release some of it into the pistons and the body, and then it's released gradually, so you use less fuel. It's a combination of two things: reduction in weight, in the mass of the system, and partially fuel operating in a totally different environment because now it's in the nano-coated layers. And we've seen people reporting up to 50% reduction, much better performance, steering, and higher speed and energy. It's all because now you have more, friction with the surface of the, the floor, the ground. And so you get a better response, you get a better performance. And the same is with the medical system.
Someone wants to know what your thoughts are on a large-scale magnetic perpetual motion engine? Is it sustainable?
If it's in a Ganser state, yes, all the stars work that way. If it's a combination of matter and a plasma state, yes, Earth works that way. The shell we call the planet is that way. So it creates its own matter, plasma state, and this is what we call the inertia of the Earth. Everything is possible, but we have to understand how we can utilize it.
Okay, and someone wants to know...
I'm sorry, Kay. Joseph Newman has a very interesting device as well, if anybody's seen that. Supposedly perpetual motion, and he's harvesting more power than he's putting into it. So just another reference, maybe.
Yeah, no scientist is wrong. We are all finding new ways of releasing more energy from our system. But we have to find out how we release it, because it's not it's finding where we convert. I've written in one of my books, God is the creator and man the converter. These scientists are all correct, but we got to see where they do the conversion and if it's efficient for what we need. All the scientists, any of them who can show you they can produce energy, they're all correct. It's for us to understand their way of thinking, where they do the conversion. Then we find out this is sweet, what they call a story for all of us. We want to use a hydraulic, we go to hydraulic. We want to use, we have magnets, we use magnets. Nobody's wrong anymore. We got rid of the guy who was making everybody wrong, and he had no clue about the science of the energy. All the scientists are correct. It's us to find out, go into their brain and find out where they tapped in. And then we can replicate it, and they're all correct. If we can show a system can produce energy, it's us, it's our ignorance not understanding their way of thinking. It's not that they are wrong. The minute somebody says they are wrong, it doesn't work, it means I'm ignorant, so I blame the others to make it easy for me.
Okay, someone wants to know if a CME from the sun could disable your device, or is it naturally protected from such interference?
It's a magnetic gravitational field. It works within it, it absorbs it. Don't forget, these systems we developed are for a space, and the energy from the sun is nothing compared to the pools of fields which you'll encounter in space. And if you understand the work of the plasma, it becomes the chameleon of the space. It adapts itself to higher strength of the plasma when it needs it, and reduces itself. You see, you cannot lose your life in the space. We are not becoming another animal. All we do, we go to higher strength field in our plasma of our body. Now that we understand our body is not a matter state, even when we touch it, we think it is. And we understand it's in the Ganser state, which is a plasma state. We just go to the deeper strength, and we evolve to that environment, strength. All our cells instantaneously change. The way you see in the teachings, you want a fish and chips, you see fish and chips, the energy and whatever, automatically your body does the same in the space. So we receive it much, millions of times stronger than this, what comes from the sun. And with a new technology, which is not in the matter state, in the Ganser state, we evolve to it to confirm our own existence, because we add to and we go lower inside the plasma, which gives you a higher energy level. Go back on the teaching. It's all explained in book number 2 and 1.
Okay. So again, we have been going now for about almost 2 hours, and what we would do at this time is we will close this down, and it has been successful, so perhaps we can do this again sometime in the future, and maybe some other people that were invited will actually show up, because not everyone...
You see, there is a problem to create confidence, to create... A lot of these scientists have been battered by people who in the background were sitting with people like Alan Sterling. It needs to build confidence in the scientific world that we are all correct. It needs for us to explain, when you come, you don't get attacked. You become part of adding to the knowledge of man. You'll find a lot of people who come next time when you do it. People understand the battle is gone, nobody's wrong. because Walmart had to make everybody wrong that he could do his job. Now he's gone, thanks God. I hope we get served what is served to the others and the children very soon. And then we understand we have started a new chapter in the world of science. We are all equal. Nobody is wrong. The wrong is us who don't understand their way of thinking. They could be making a mistake, but in finding their mistakes, we might find a solution. And if we work in that way, we are all correct, all the scientists. Invite them on. We've been so battered by this structure. Now we see the false structure. Now as scientists, we can stand up and support people like you and other organizations which are correct and actually fish out the what I call the ignorance. And so now let me explain to you something very interesting. It's important for us to understand what is coming from, what is coming out of the security services to us. Very interesting point. Alan Sterling, by trying to go and show, he travels to somewhere to show a new technology, he was planning a child in that destination to abuse. The technology was a decoy. So now you understand how these things have been set up. If he enjoyed the child, the technology would have been praised. And if he didn't enjoy the child, everything was wrong with the technology. We got rid of these idiots. We got rid of these criminals. Red Circle is another one. And this Hope woman and Susan are the others. We show now how they are. We show it today in our teaching. So let's bring science back to its sanity. Next time when you put a panel, more people come, because now we got confidence that we can all speak correctly without accusing, but it's our responsibility to understand their point of view. If you understand their point of view, maybe together we can add more knowledge in these kind of presentations to the humanity.
Okay, thank you for that. So can we go around the group? Let's start with Jerry. Some closing comments.
Sure, thanks, Carrie. And thanks again for having me on, and thank you once again, Mr. Kesh, for sharing insight. There's some beautifully put scientific principles there shared. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening. Just in closing, I just want to say that it's really fun seeing everyone getting a census of these different scientific terms and going forward into a new understanding of energy. And my company does something that's very complementary to what the Kesh Foundation does. I guess relative to computer components, they're like magnetic hard drives, and we're like solid-state hard drives. So they can
Let's get together. Let's get together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Contact my webmaster. Let's get together, see if we can add together in the knowledge.
Absolutely, that'd be fun. Yeah, I would love to share some data. It'd be great.
Please contact my webmaster, and we get together, we meet, and we put, and we, in teachings, we add to the knowledge of humanity.
Great. Thank you for the invitation. Definitely take you up on that. So yeah, thanks again for everyone for having me on, and Carrie, once again, for doing a great job. And my website is quantaemissions.com if you're looking for what we're doing. So thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Jerry, for joining us. Robert, why don't you give some closing remarks now?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to just kind of take it back to the Kundalini remark that you had mentioned before. By the way, I really liked your last summation of your interview with Mr. Kesh. Thank you very much for that. I also want to mention that Carrie and technology and things like that Mr. Kesh is doing is just too important to lose. So please help support her, you guys. But really the essence of these teachings are older than written history. If you think about the teachings that we did not lose through the years, like meridian flow, chakras, things like that, this has been around forever, and people understood it before we ever came up with electricity to be so greedy with. And a side note is that the electricity part of this, the power amplification, is only a side note to what Mr. Kesh is really trying to do. And so I would ask everybody, if you haven't made a replication of it, please just at least give it a chance. And he gives it all for free. There's tons of people out there ready and willing to help. Just contact me on my Facebook page. Anybody who's really into it is more than happy to give, because we understand that in giving we receive 10 times more, and that's something that is not gained through the Keshe Foundation, but is solidified each time you listen to the teachings because of the way that Mr. Keshe has done it. And so I just want to thank you so much, Carrie. I think it's really important that you're doing this, and I hope that we can do it again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Robert, is it possible for you to join us in the teaching this afternoon, or in the Knowledge Seekers, to show your builds, because you've done something which, in a way, people can learn what they have to do and the way to do it, because we need to repolish some of the work. And I thank you for being so open to put your information in public. This is the beauty, that now we are all working together. And we need the independent platforms like you, Carrie, to open the mind in a new way.
Okay,
yes,
thank you
Keshe,
very much.
I'm always there in the background, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much. And yeah,
please
Carrie,
come
again,
forward.
Yes, I will. And your show is the way that I found out about Mr. Keshe and what he was doing, Carrie. So I'd like to thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very kind remarks. Thank you so much. Nadine, would you like to have some closing remarks? Okay, I think Nadine has to unmute herself. See if you can manage that.
I have some. Can you hear me?
Now
can you hear me?
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I want to put a little appetizer out there for you, especially, Carrie, because I think this is what we would call the science of the ancient ones. And it is really not so difficult as it seems, because I think in about in 2 hours you could explain easily what a plasma is, and then in 2 more hours you can explain what about the nanocoating process, and in 2 more hours you can explain the GANs, how you make the GANs, and then you can show where you can apply these things. You can make your own paint pad or your own paint pen, and or you can even create little symbolistic art crafts, which may be like a fortune bringer just for you or for somebody you want to give it. And then another thing I think is very important, that we have to learn some new vocabulary, which is what GANs are, what magraphs are, what plasma is, and principle, matter, transition matter, and matter. And then we have all the same base, which now you would, as you last time said in the interview with Mr. Keshe, sometimes we do not speak the same language. Perhaps I can understand what you mean, and I can see it in the science Mr. Keshe explains us. So it's in a way it's very easy to, in a very short time, to catch up. And then is another thing I wanted to tell you, because of the nano coating. Mr. Keshe said when the nano coating is, you create some sort of a crystalline form on the surface, and other people, they also use crystals, and then they mix the crystal powder with the GANs, and so I think it might become like how you say, super, like a memory bank So even if, and you slowly go also into perhaps understanding the link to the, when somebody says that the universe is a hologram, that's what I wanted to add. And I thank you very much, Kerry. You are doing a great job, and you I like your topics. They are very interesting, and they're very easily to understand for me, I think. And Mr. Cash, I thank you very much. I have a great respect for you, and you are a very wise teacher. And that's what we in Italian we would call a maestro, because you are also an artistic person. I think you are what we would also call an alchemist of highest order. And so we are very happy to have you with us in these times. Thank you very much, all.
Okay, thank you very much, Nadine, for joining us and sharing your understanding with all of us. So I think we've covered everyone in the group here. I don't think I missed anyone. Is there, let's see, Brian, our producer, has been with us the whole time. In case, Brian, is there any comments you'd like to make before we close this down? Okay, the answer is no. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Kesh, for coming on board here and being so open and willing to try this new experiment with us. It's great to have this chance to bring people together to talk about things and to help people to understand. And as I say, we can possibly do this kind of thing again in the future. So thank you again, everyone, for listening and for watching, and have a good night. Tomorrow night I am interviewing Richard Allen Miller and Matt Stein in a pre-event interview, and we'll be talking about preparedness and critical thinking. That is going to be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. and the same place you are tonight, only a different link. So thanks again for listening, and good night, everyone.
Thank you very much, Carrie.
Thank you very much, Carrie. Hey, I'd like to see Dan Winters at the next one, if possible. I think he could add a lot. If anybody knows him, you could invite him.
Actually, he was invited to this one, but I don't think he knows me, so perhaps he didn't pay attention to my invitation. So, yes, I'm inviting him for an interview directly, one-on-one as well. So I'm very interested in his work, and I have, seen a fair amount of his work over the few years. So he is welcome, absolutely. And if you know him and can contact him on our behalf, that would be great.
Yeah, maybe one of the listeners do, and I'll see what I can do about that too. Thanks a lot, Carrie.
Okay, thank you. Good night, everyone.